Hi, Lake Charles in Southwest Louisiana. This is Mayor Nick Hunter, and I'm speaking to you today. This is being recorded on Friday, April 17th. There's been a lot of conversation in our community and throughout this country about when will businesses be able to reopen? When will we get back to some semblance of normalcy? While the majority of this conversation I want to be about that topic, I also want to take a moment just to remind everyone that right now in Southwest Louisiana, this COVID-19 pandemic has meant more to some people than just a business closing. It has meant that a family member or a friend has died. And I think that we've got to keep those people in our prayers and our thoughts as we talk about this. And I speak to you today not only as a mayor, but also as a business owner, as a small business owner, and as a dad. I want to premise this next statement by repeating the fact that there's a lot of families in this community that are suffering much more than I am right now. But I'll tell you, just on a personal level, my wife and I made the decision about a month ago to send her and our 3-year-old and 2-month-old baby to stay with her mom in Moss Bluff. And I have not seen my family for right at a month now. Now, I will tell you that we visited with a pediatrician earlier this week, and we've made the decision, unless anything major changes over the next couple days, that we're going to bring the family back together. And I'm very excited about that. But I say those things to you today just to remind you that I'm speaking not only as a mayor, but also a member of this community, a business owner, a dad, and a husband. I think it's important if we just take a moment to remind ourselves where we are through this process. The governor's executive order is now in effect until the end of this month. And the governor has legal authority to do what he did, and his executive order covers this entire state. Even the Attorney General affirmed that the governor has legal authority to do what he did. So I do not think that anything very serious is going to happen before the end of the month, which would change that executive order of the governor. Throughout this process, the local elected officials have met often, and we have supported the governor in his actions. Those were tough decisions that were made, but we have chosen to support the governor and not do something that was a drastically different direction than what our governor has asked for the entire state. By the way, we hear cries from both sides. We hear some that say we're doing way too much. We hear some that say we're not doing enough. Personally, I believe that we're right where we should be, and I believe that the data backs that up if you look at the numbers for Calcasieu Parish. By the way, whenever we make those decisions on a local level, we always have medical professionals at the table. And sometimes those decisions are either to do something or not to do something. Just as I say that we have tried to be on the same path as the governor, I also want to mention that we have made the decision locally not to take drastic steps beyond what the governor has asked of the state. We have not seen a police state in Southwest Louisiana, and we're not going to see that. That's just not who we are. Now, as we get into May, I do hope that the governor will take into consideration different corners of the state and different communities. How are certain communities doing versus others? And we'll see what he decides to do. I do not think that it's going to be just like turning on a switch. I don't think that we're going to automatically have someone snap their fingers and everything will be back to normal or back to the way life was pre-COVID-19. Hopefully there will be a gradual return to some semblance of normalcy. And again, like many of you, I hope that happens sometime in the foreseeable future. In visiting with our pediatrician, actually, again earlier this week, she made the statement that at this point, keeping our family separated would almost be to say that we're waiting for a vaccine. And I'm not going to keep my family separated from me for over a year until we find a vaccine, nor do I think that we can keep our economy closed until we find a vaccine. So again, we locally are working with our state and federal counterparts to make those decisions. Locally, we don't have the authority to override the governor. And quite frankly, in this situation, even if I did have that authority, personally, I would not choose to use it right now. I think it's very important that we show unity. And also, I want to mention the executive policy group that exists here locally. In Calcasieu Parish, the executive policy group is made up of all of the mayors of the cities, the police jury, and the Calcasieu Parish Sheriff's Office. And to date on this issue, we have spoken with one voice. And I think that's so important because if you think about Lake Charles, or what we commonly call Lake Charles, there are communities that exist that are outside the city limits of Lake Charles. So perhaps if the mayor was to do something that would be completely different than the police jury, you could have literally people across the street or businesses across the street from each other being told different things and being pointed in different directions, and the enforcement could be different. And we don't want that. We want Calcasieu Parish to be on the same page. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, I say all these things to you to say that we hear the frustration, and we know that many of you wish that there was a set date and time. I'm unable to provide that right now, but what I can tell you is that we continue to communicate daily with our state and federal counterparts, and locally, we're going to make decisions that are based on what is good for this community in a very holistic way. And we want to work in unity and cohesion to do what's best for the people of Southwest Louisiana. Thank you so much.